I wasn't expecting this. Was not planning to make another Shadowverse video so soon. Usually I wait for a few episodes to go by to see whatever's going on to conclude, but seeing as we're going on hiatus for a little bit, I kind of had to talk about these two episodes. Also, did we know this? Did we know this batch was only going to be like 25 long? Which, don't get me wrong, I love the idea of only doing 25. Taking a break, allowing the animators maybe to get a lot of the show done in the meantime, keeps it looking good. Hopefully, get the writing back to where it's supposed to be, which we'll touch on in a minute. And also just like when the show goes off air for a little bit and you have time to miss it and you learn to appreciate it, it makes you all the more into it and happy for it and excited for it to come back. I kind of call it the Rick and Morty principle. Rick and Morty was popular, but did not become the levels of huge it was until it took that big gap in between, I want to say seasons 2 and 3, when they took a couple of years off. And that was when it became huge. And I think when you give shows that time to get big, or we see it in anime as well, Demon Slayer got big while people were missing it, waiting for Mugen Train to come out. My Hero Academia, the last couple seasons have kind of been for a lot of people, but people get excited after they've had some time to not be bombarded with it and to know there's a new season coming out. And who knows, maybe Jujutsu Kaisen will benefit from a break. We should talk about that one day. So yeah, I am all for taking time off in between. Just let me know so I can plan these fucking videos out right. You hear me, Side Games? Do what I say. Do it. We should probably talk about the episodes since we're like 2 minutes in and I'm stalling for time because, yeah, the thing I've been saying was going to happen the whole time has come to pass. And as always, when good shows start doing whatever this is, I should probably preference this by saying, I love this show. I love these characters. I love the adventures they've been gone through. I've loved watching their personal growth. I've loved watching the world around them develop. And so when I come at this, I'm coming at a place from love as I expect this show to do better. And I do think it is important to take the time and explain when a show is doing something wrong and why. Hence all the Card Fight Vanguard videos. Oh yeah, with Shadowverse being off, I don't have to try and struggle to make time to cover 3 shows. So yeah, that's a good thing. 3 minutes in, let's talk about this. So, episodes 74 and 75 are the beginning of our new story arc, which is that the arc has been let loose and it is turning the people's buddy things into generic looking fire dog monster things that are wreaking havoc. And instead of calling the military, the National Guard, the police, the missionaries, just anybody at all, everything is going to be in the hands of our main characters. We saw the side characters doing some stuff too. I actually did like that, sort of showing how they treat the situation and they handle things as they try to keep everybody safe. Although, again, I think realistically, since these are just normal teenagers, they should be freaking the fuck out, and they're not. Whatever. And yeah, it's just not that compelling. And part of the problem lies with where we've been before, and that is you have had 73 episodes to build up what was going to happen, to build up the threat of the arc, to build up all these things, and they did not. They basically did none of this, went out of their way to ignore it, often making you feel like the arc is not important, and now all of a sudden it needs to be when all you've conveyed is that it isn't. That's a problem because it results in the fact that I don't find myself overtly caring about what's happening because the show just sort of like expects that you've already become invested, but I'm not. You don't talk about the arc a lot. You don't talk about any magic or supernatural aspect of this world. Yeah, there's been the ongoing kind of mystery of why does, I don't even remember the name, like Light's buddy thing, like it talks and that's supposed to be a big deal, but like, why? Because all the other buddies, whenever they're even around, because they don't do much, they're perfectly as interactive and seem as sentient as the dragon one. They just don't talk. So it doesn't feel like a big deal. There's also the fact that I don't really understand how technology in this world works. Like, presumably the buddies are just holograms, but they're constantly interacting with the world around them. They seem to be able to touch things. So is it solid vision like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5? If that's the case, why don't we see more of it integrated into day-to-day society? You also have stuff like that techno cult that tried to pick up the girl from the first show. We saw them earlier. We see them for like half a second in this, and it's just kind of like, yeah, we're here, remember us. It's almost like they didn't really know what they wanted to do for this main plot. So they set up little things like that or some other little strings that they then never really built on. So it's now all got to be sort of compiled here, and it results in 2 episodes of just talking heads. That's what I describe it. All our characters are in a room and they're just talking about a plot that the show did not take the time to build up properly. Now, many of you might say, well, a lot of this show is just talking heads. Yes, the difference is what they're usually talking about is stuff I care about because it's stuff about them. It's their emotions, it's their backstories, it's their relationships with each other and where they're going. You spent 73 episodes building that up. The point of the show was that. Your plot is secondary, which is fine until you do this, where now the plot is in the forefront and you have to like basically switch gears and adjust the whole show to being about that, and it results in some very clunky exchanges I talked before about with the other characters. But even amongst our main characters, our main cast feels a lot more calm about this than they logically should. Again, someone should be freaking the fuck out thinking it's Armageddon, but they're all like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll go do it. Why not? There is some pushback, but it's played up so quickly, I don't think it really feels like anything. The big thing is you have Shion being like, oh, I'm a hyper genius now. Instead of just being a smart kid, she's just like planning everything and making better plans than the actual grown-ups. I mean, let's be real here. All the adults in this are just fucking morons. So she's all like, oh, well, I have a better plan and we're all going to split up. And apparently if you just hit them real hard in a game of Shadowverse, it's all over. And we're doing this just because, just shut up, do what we tell you, follow the plot. And so, yeah, so they're all going to like go off. And then there's the question of who amongst the 7 shadows is the traitor. And I don't care. I don't think anyone cares. Again, the show barely cares. It's just shoving us all this information in just the most bland way possible because it just kind of feels like it has to. So then everyone is going to go off. I would love for one of their parents to see this and then like just sue the fuck out of Genesis Corporation afterwards. Like really get that lawsuit in there. But yeah, and that's just kind of, we just stop on this weird, awkward note. It almost makes me wonder, was this not planned to be a stopping point, but kind of became one? And again, like, yeah, obviously they'll continue it in like a season or 2, but it just feels like a weird, awkward note to end on. I'm sure someone's going to be like, bring up the big bad guy who just keeps talking about judging humanity and fixing things, or I don't care. I don't care. What have they done with this character? It's one of those things to where it's like, because the character writing in this show is so good, when you notice problems, they feel a lot worse. This show has built itself up as very good, so when it's not, it's kind of a problem. But tell me what you think in the comment section below. Again, do I think the show is bad now? Do I think it won't work out? No, I'm sure it will be just fine. Just this was a clunky way to end things off. But give me your thoughts about that in the comment section below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me in an anime season or two when this great show comes back.